So you've been making music for a bit, you've watched some producers online, and you notice that a lot of people on YouTube and Twitch and in the live music space are using this software called Ableton Live when they produce or when they run their live backing tracks. The software seems to make a lot of sense to you, so you go to their website to check out what it looks like. When you get there, you go to check the price and you see this. 3 very different options, very different price ranges, and you don't know which one to get. You don't know if you need to get the full version and spend a ton of money, or will the cheap version work for you and what you're kind of looking for? Well, today we're gonna answer those questions. We're gonna find out which one each tier is for, and I'm gonna even show you a secret 4th option that isn't listed on the website. Let's get into it. So as you can see, we have 3 options: Ableton Intro, Ableton Standard, and Ableton Suite. Ableton Intro starts at $100, Ableton Standard is at $450, and then Ableton Suite is $750. And those are pretty huge price jumps, but they each do a very different thing, and you get very different upgrades with each purchase. Now we're gonna go through each of these in different sections. So the first section we're gonna talk about in each of these is the basic use features, and then we're gonna talk about the software instruments that come with each of these, and I'm gonna highlight some of my favorites there. We're gonna talk about the audio effects that come in each of these, and we're gonna talk about the MIDI effects, and I'll touch on what sample packs come with each of these in very general terms. So let's start with the first one, Ableton Intro, $100. What are you getting? There's a lot of things that are the same across all 3, and in the basic features, you get all of those across all 3. So they're not really skimping you there. There's more of just a limitation with Ableton Intro. It's a track count and scene count limitation. Whereas with the other 2, you won't have this issue. Ableton Live Intro, you're gonna be capped to 16 audio tracks, 16 MIDI tracks, 16 scenes in the session view, which if you're running live tracks, that's gonna be beneficial for you. You get 2 send and return tracks, and you get 8 inputs and outputs. And once again, if you're running multiple ins or multiple outs, like you're running backing tracks, that's gonna be significant to know. And with Ableton Live Intro, you get access to all the warp modes, whereas before you didn't get access to all of them. You had to actually upgrade to get access to some of them. But in Ableton Live 11 Intro, you get access to all of the warp modes. Another more niche thing is that you can import and export video. So if you're trying to use video in your live show, this is gonna be extremely beneficial for you there. Or if you're trying to do some scoring to video and adding extra production to maybe a music video or some sort of trailer or something, that's where this is gonna be helpful, because you can export the video, as an MP4 video, and not just as the audio. Instruments wise, it comes with 4 main instruments. You get access to the drum rack, you get access to Impulse, which is a drum-based machine inside of Ableton. You get the instrument rack, which is how you combine different instruments, multiple plugins, whether they're Ableton plugins or third party, and you can use it inside one unit. And then you also get access to Simpler, which is an extremely powerful Ableton software that allows you to drop in different samples and then control them across a beat pad or across different piano keys. Simpler is especially important when it comes to Ableton Live Intro, because you don't get a lot of software with it. You mainly just get samples and a lot of drum-based stuff, and it's really bare bones. What Simpler allows you to do is to go somewhere like Splice or some other sample library, find one-shots of different instruments, and then you can play them across your piano. So let's say you don't have a great piano sound that you like, you can go get a one-shot note of a piano, drop it into Simpler, and then you can play that piano across your keyboard using Simpler. Same for synths, same for trumpets, same for strings. Obviously, it's not gonna sound as good as more expensive stuff, but if it's just something that you're trying to use to get ideas across, this is a really good way to do that and not break the bank. In the audio effects section, you get 21 audio effects, and I'm just gonna highlight a couple. You get an EQ, you get a channel strip, you get a basic compressor, you get a basic reverb, delay, and a limiter to throw on your master chain, And you also get a tuner, but not a vocal tuner. It's more of a guitar tuner. So if you're tracking guitars or bass or some sort of stringed instrument and you don't have a tuner on you, you can use the tuner inside of Ableton to make sure that your instrument is in tune. So like I said, everything in Ableton Live Intro is really bare bones, really basic, and is there to help you get started. There's a lot of other free stuff if you think that this is enough for you, but you are worried about not having enough compressors or EQs or other instruments. There's plenty of other free things, and I've actually made a couple shorts videos about this that I will link here or down below. Go check those out. There's a bunch of great options there for you, especially if you're just getting started and you don't want to spend a ton of money on this. Another key section that comes with Ableton Live is the MIDI effects section. Ableton Live Intro comes with 8 total MIDI effects, but I just kind of want to touch on a couple of my favorites that I tend to use a lot. The arpeggiator, for instance, is really great, especially if you want to get some pulsing synth basses, or if you want to get some really nice randomized arpeggios with different synths or strings or piano keys. It's really, really helpful. There's also the pitch MIDI instrument, very helpful for if you decide to change keys mid-project instead of having to go through and dropping all of your MIDI information down 2 whole steps or even just a half step. It's really great to be able to just grab that plugin, drop it down a half step, and then copy and paste that to all of your MIDI based tracks. And lastly, I want to highlight the Velocity MIDI plugin, which is extremely helpful if you're working with the drums and you want to give some variation to your velocities. This will help randomize what velocities that you're actually hitting and make your drums feel a little bit more real and alive. And now with this most recent version of Ableton Live 11, Ableton Intro 11 actually comes with a free sample pack, which they did not do before, but this is extremely helpful. It's more in the vein of sample chopping, which is a lot of where Ableton got its start, was sample manipulation and sample chopping. So a lot of the samples that come in that free pack are geared more towards that, but it is still extremely helpful and beneficial to somebody just starting out to have a library of sounds given to you. So now we're going to talk about the second tier option, which is Ableton Live Standard. So the basic use features is actually where we get the biggest jump between the first level of intro and the second level of standard. We unlock almost every single basic use feature with this jump. We get unlimited audio and MIDI tracks, we get unlimited scenes, and we get 12 sends and returns instead of 2. We also get 256 ins and 256 outs. So that's a massive jump from 8. And we also get something new to Ableton Live 11, which is linked track editing. You're gonna use this like when you're tracking drums and you need to time edit all of your drums. You're gonna need to link all of those tracks together to make sure your drums don't get out of time or go out of phase from each other. You're gonna use this when you're editing vocals, a lot of background stacks, and if you want to keep all of your vocals in time with each other and edit them as one big piece, that's where this is going to be really helpful. In the software instruments section, we actually only add 2 instruments going from intro to standard, one of which is the drum synths instrument, which utilizes synths instead of samples to create drum sounds. It's a lot less organic sounding and a lot weirder and kind of left field drum sounds, which could be really cool for what you need. And the other is the external instruments rack. It will allow you to use internal plugins along with that external instrument and kind of create a hybrid system of physical synth or drum pad or whatever and software-based reverbs, delays, what have you, and send it out. In the audio effects section, we're jumping from 21 to 37 audio instruments between intro and standard. That's adding 16 new audio effects, and I will say that this area is extremely beneficial between the two because some of the audio effects that you actually get are some of the better ones in Ableton at the standard level. You get things like the new drum bus inside of Ableton, which can be really cool for destroying different samples, or if you have a live kit and you want to add this plugin on the end of it, it can do some really cool compression. You get the EQ8, which is something similar to the FabFilter Pro Q, not quite the same, but is kind of Ableton's version of it. You get the glue compressor, which is a 2-way style compressor, and one of my favorites actually inside of Ableton I like it a whole lot better than the basic compressor. And you get multiband compression, which gives you the ever sought after OTT preset that everyone uses to just take all of their sounds over the top. And the last thing I'll highlight is the vocoder plugin that you get. You can take any synth, put this vocoder plugin on a vocal, and have that vocal go through that synth and make really cool different sounds. It's very similar to something like Vocal Synth from iZotope, but it's a lot more flexible and it's Ableton's more specific version. You can also do a ton of other creative stuff with it, like destroy drums, use it on guitars, use it on bass. I've seen this thing used a ton of different ways. Now in Ableton Live Standard in the MIDI effects section, we get more, we actually add 3, but I don't really use any of these 3 that get added in Standard. I tend to use some of the ones that we already have had in Intro. So I can't really speak to these, but if you wanna check out specifics about these MIDI effects, go to that link in the description and it'll take you to the Ableton website where you can compare the different aspects. And lastly, the sample packs you get with Standard, you actually get 5 more sample packs on top of the one that you already got from Intro. Adding these 5 sample packs puts you over 1,800 samples, including the original one that you get in Intro. And that's a huge plus for people just starting out or just getting into sample manipulation. Especially if you don't have a lot of different kinds of samples and you're just trying to figure out what you like, it's extremely helpful to already have some built into the software. Now heading on to the last listed on the website, Ableton Live Suite. This is the option that I actually have, and I will say that there is a ton of stuff in this option. So much so that I barely touch half of it, and there's a lot of stuff that I really want to deep dive into when I can find the time. Starting off with the basic use features, you get everything from Standard, everything from Intro, but you also get 2 main things added. In Ableton Live Suite, you can generate or receive CV triggers for pitch, control, clock, for Eurorack systems and external synths. So if you're getting into the Eurorack world or you have a lot of external synths that take CV, you can actually use Ableton options to send out information to those and control random parameters and use LFOs inside of Ableton to affect things going on externally physically. And the other thing you get is something called Max for Live. Max for Live is essentially the ability to build your own plugins using Ableton software. It is insanely in-depth, and there's a lot of people that actually make instruments and different effects and different chains of effects in Max for Live that they post for free online if you want to go grab those if you have Suite. I want to say that that is only in Suite. Now, the biggest jump from Standard to Suite, in my opinion, is the software instruments section. And you actually get 11 more software instruments. And this is where if you're a producer or a sound designer or someone who works with a lot of different kinds of synths, this is where this is gonna be huge for you. Like I said, you get 11 more. I'm just gonna highlight my 3 favorites of these. You get analog, which emulates a lot of different kinds of analog synths. You get bass, which a lot of people struggle for really great bass synth sounds. This one instrument can do so much that it traverses a bunch of different genres and styles that you might need. And lastly, my favorite synth is actually the wavetable synth that was recently introduced in Live 10. It comes with a bunch of great presets, but you can also do things like take samples and drop them in and use different samples as your wavetable. You could use somebody just talking and drop it in and play that across a wavetable and use that as your source. There's so many different parameters that you can tweak, and then using LFOs and other effects, MIDI effects and audio effects, you can actually make these sounds into something super unique. Speaking of audio effects, in Suite, we get a total of 60 audio effects. Yes, we're jumping up 27 different audio effects between Standard and Suite. Some of my favorites of these that I want to highlight are the CV options that you get. They actually come as individual audio effect plugins. The amp plugin, which actually emulates a guitar amp. It can be used for a bunch of different stuff. I've seen people use it on vocals for cool effects, different basses, synths. It can be really, really cool to really mangle your synths or your synth basses. And then obviously you can use it on guitar as well, like you normally would. The third thing I want to highlight, and actually something new to Ableton Live 11, is the hybrid reverb, which combines algorithmic and convolution styles of reverb to give you some really, really unique reverbs that you can use across vocals and guitars and pretty much anything. And something else new to Ableton Live 11 is the last thing I want to highlight is the spectral time audio effect, which essentially lets you turn anything into a pad. Need to create a drone pad and you want to use the vocal from your song, drop it in there and it will wash out everything and make it sound super cool. The MIDI effects section in Suite, we're actually adding 2, and like I said, I didn't use a bunch in Standard, and I don't use a bunch of the ones in Suite, but I do use one specific one, which is the rotating rhythm generator. It is essentially the randomization of modular beat generation that you would use in something like a Eurorack, but in a software. Like I said, it's really, really specific. I'm not sure if a lot of people would be into that, but it's become one of my new favorite things, and it's really helpful when I get stuck and want to find something refreshing. And the last thing about Ableton Live Suite is that you get so many sample packs. I mean, we jumped from 1,800 in Ableton Live Standard to over 5,000 samples in Ableton Live Suite. And they're across multiple genres: dance music, funk, pop music, hip hop, anything that you can think of, they have made a sample pack for. It's extremely helpful when you can just go to your Finder window, type in something that you're looking for, and then go to your samples section, and it's more than likely gonna have something close. So what about this fourth secret option? You actually might already have it. If you have something like the Scarlett 2i2, or if you have the Arturia Mini Lab Mark II, like this one here, they come with a version of Ableton called Ableton Live Lite. And yeah, it comes free with your hardware. It's actually bundled as a part of it. And a lot of people don't realize that it even comes with their hardware. So what's the difference between this and the other versions? Overall, Lite is very similar to Ableton Live Intro, except for a few key things here and there. The main thing is that instead of 16 MIDI and audio tracks like Ableton Live Intro comes with, Ableton Live Lite actually minimizes that down to 8 audio and MIDI tracks. But you still get 8 inputs and outputs, you still get 16 scenes, and you get MPE compatibility like the rest of all of them. You still get your audio effects, you still get your MIDI effects, you still get the same software instruments. But that track count is really the main thing that differs Lite from Intro. And if you can manage to work with 8 tracks of audio and 8 tracks of MIDI and limit yourself, then that could be a great option for you. So now that you have a big picture of each of them, let's talk about which one is right for you. Let's go through each and I'll tell you who I think each is geared towards. So with something like Ableton Live Lite being free bundled with the Scarlett 2i2 or the Arturia Mini Lab or some other things, it's really geared towards the beginner producer. If you're just starting out and you need an interface or you need a MIDI controller, it's gonna come with that for free. So I would suggest using that. If you are already planning on getting the interface or the MIDI controller, congratulations, it comes with it for free. Like I said, a beginner bedroom producer or songwriter is gonna really benefit from this because it's already bundled with something that they're gonna need anyway. The other person that this is great for is a band or an artist that wants to demo out songs, maybe using a MIDI drum kit and a MIDI bass, and maybe tracking real guitars or a MIDI keys and their vocals. You can fit all of that within the constraints of 8 MIDI tracks and 8 audio tracks. Also for the band or artists, you can use Ableton Live to run tracks live. So if you're gonna go out and perform, you can actually use the 8 ins and outs that Ableton Live Lite comes with to send through an interface to front of house and be able to have live tracks with your band. Now Ableton Live Intro is still geared towards beginners, but it's geared more towards a beginner that has a specific piece of hardware in mind, or maybe they already have the hardware and they don't want to buy another piece of hardware, so maybe they just want to get the software. It's also for bands and artists that just want to run live backing tracks and don't need any of the hardware. They don't need to worry about any of the hardware that comes with it. They just want a simple backtrack setup with Ableton Live. And another more specific use case is a software-based DJ with really basic needs. Ableton started out as actually a DJ software, not necessarily a DAW. So that session view is really geared towards DJ use. And it's got a lot of cool functions for that. Moving up to Ableton Live Standard, we actually get into being a part-time producer. So if you're already a part-time producer and you're looking for something a little more specific, or you like the way that this works, this level is gonna be for you. Or maybe you're full-time and you just want to use Ableton for songwriting. I don't necessarily think you need to go all in on the Suite version. Standard's gonna work great for you if you just wanna songwrite. If you're getting into tracking and heavy workloads with full drum kits, I also think Standard's gonna be really good for you because you get access to the linked track editing, which is you're really gonna need if you're editing drums or editing large vocal stacks. And the last person who's gonna need Standard is the band or artist that just needs a more robust software. 16 tracks is just not enough for you from intro and you just need more on your live set, then Standard's gonna be for you. And lastly, Suite. If you're all in on Ableton Live, just grab Suite and call it a day. If you do a lot of post-production or synth work, all of those synths that Suite comes with are very, very beneficial for you. Or if you work with a lot of Euro rack or external modules and you need access to that CV workflow, that's gonna be the only place where you can get that. Now I will say they do a great upgrade program. So if you have Ableton Live Lite or Ableton Live Intro and you start getting more and more comfortable with it and you wanna level up, they'll give you a big discount to get to that next level. And discounts and upgrades also stack. You can always find on Black Friday or New Year's or Christmas, they'll always do a price reduction on not only the full price, but also the upgrade price if you already have it. That's actually how I got started. I got started in Intro and then slowly over the years just upgraded myself up to the next tier until I'm at Suite now. Like I said, if you want more information, click that link below and it's gonna take you to Ableton Live's website where you can compare the editions in way more detail than this video has time for. I hope this helped you decide which one you're gonna get. If you did decide which one you're gonna get, drop it in the comments or just leave an emoji, helps with the algorithm. Thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a like and a subscribe down below. Share it with somebody who might need it, and I will see you in the next video.